Your grocery bill last month, whatever that number was, it was higher than it needed to be. Not because food got expensive, because nobody ever taught you what your grandmother knew by the time she was 20. She fed a family of 5 on rations that would fit in a single modern shopping bag. 2 pounds of meat per person per week, 4 ounces of cheese. That was the legal limit during the war, and she made it stretch into 30 meals. Not because she was poor, because she understood something the food industry spent 80 years making you forget. A kitchen is not a place where you spend money. It is a place where you stop wasting it. Let me show you exactly what she did. Not the romance of it, the mechanics. Welcome to the Survival Research. If you're not subscribed yet, hit subscribe and the bell. This is where we dig up the practical knowledge that got buried under convenience. Start with the system she lived inside, because it explains everything. In 1943, the United States ran on a point system. Every person got a ration book. Blue stamps for processed and canned food, 48 points a month. Red stamps for meat, cheese, and fats, 64 a month. A single can of peas could cost 14 points, a can of pineapple, 20, 2 cans, and half your monthly processed allowance was gone. So she did not shop the way you shop. She walked in with a number in her head and a plan for every point. Stop for a second. Because what I am about to show you is only part of what she knew. We compiled the complete wartime household system into one place. The survival research documentation. The exact point stretching method that turned 1 week of meat into 2. The fat salvage process the government literally paid families to perform. The preservation techniques that fed a household through an entire winter without a refrigerator. The substitution charts that replaced rationed ingredients with things you already have. More than a dozen complete systems. No fluff, the actual methods. The link is in the description. But stay here, because the next part is the one nobody believes. The first thing she understood was that fresh food was not rationed. Fresh vegetables, fresh fruit, eggs, poultry. Those were free of the point system entirely. The industry today sells you the opposite instinct, the convenient thing, the packaged thing, the thing with a long shelf life. That is the expensive thing. It always was. Your grandmother bought the carrot, not the can, and the carrot cost her nothing from her ration book. If you have made it this far, you already understand more about running a real household than almost anyone you know. Subscribe and share this with someone who keeps complaining about grocery prices. The complete system is in the documentation. The link is in the description. Now stay with me, because the next method is the one that actually fed the country. Now here is where it gets practical. Because she did not just buy differently, she extracted more from everything she bought. And the first place she found that extra value was the one place you have been trained to ignore completely. The single most wasted item in your kitchen right now is fat. You pour it down the drain, you wipe it into the trash, you treat it as garbage. Your grandmother treated it as currency, and she was right, because it literally was. During the war, used cooking fat was so valuable that the government paid for it. 2 red ration points and 4 cents for every pound you turned in. Bacon grease, meat drippings, the skimmings off a stew, even the fat off the water you boiled sausage in. She strained it through a fine mesh, stored it in a tin in a cool place, and either turned it in for points or used it again. The same fat fried 3, 4, 5 times before it was spent. Between 1942 and 1945, American households collected 537 million pounds of kitchen fat. That is not a typo. More than 500 million pounds, saved 1 tin can at a time. You throw away every drop of that. And then you buy a new bottle of oil. Here's the part that sounds like exaggeration until you check the numbers. By 1944, the vegetables grown in backyard gardens accounted for 40% of all the fresh vegetables eaten in the United States. 40%. Not from farms, from ordinary people in ordinary yards with no experience. 20 million of these gardens existed at the peak, 1 for every 7 people in the country. People with no yard grew them in window boxes and watered them through the window, but growing it was only half the method. The other half was keeping it. In January of 1944, a survey found that 75% of housewives canned their own food, and the ones who canned put up an average of 165 jars a year. 165 jars. That is a single household preserving an entire growing season into shelf-stable food that survived the winter with no electricity, no freezer, nothing but glass, heat, and method. She grew it for almost nothing. She preserved it for almost nothing. And she stopped depending on the store for the months when the store charged the most. Now let me connect these, because individually they are tricks. Together they are a system. The fresh vegetable that costs no ration points becomes the garden that produces 40% of your food. The garden becomes the canning that carries it through winter. The meat ration gets stretched into stews and casseroles that turn 2 pounds into a week of dinners. The fat from that meat gets saved and used again instead of bought again. Nothing leaves the kitchen as waste. Everything cycles. That is the entire secret. Not a single clever hack. A closed loop where the things you currently throw away become the things you currently pay for. Let me be honest about the limits here, because this is not magic. This was hard work. Canning 165 jars is a real physical job. Stretching a meat ration meant eating organ meats in cuts you have probably never cooked. Saving fat meant straining grease into a can every single day. Your grandmother did not do this because it was charming. She did it because she had to, and because nobody had yet convinced her that her time was worth less than the money these methods saved. That is the real thing the industry sold you, not bad food. The idea that doing it yourself is beneath you, that convenience is progress, that the skills which fed a nation through a world war are a quaint hobby instead of a household economy. So here's the choice, and it is a simple one. You can keep paying full price, throwing away the fat, tossing the scraps, buying the can instead of the carrot, depending entirely on a supply chain you do not control. Or you can do what she did, not all of it. Even one of these methods cuts a real number off your bill every single month. The knowledge did not disappear because it stopped working. It disappeared because it stopped being profitable for anyone but you. I pinned a comment with the 3 specific methods I could not fit into this video, including the exact fat straining process and the substitution chart. Start there. The grocery chain does not earn a cent when you grow it, save it, and stretch it yourself. So nobody with a marketing budget was ever going to remind you how. And if this changed how you see your own kitchen, subscribe. Every person who relearns this is one more household the system cannot quietly overcharge. The next one is heavier than this. She is gone now, most likely, but the method is not. It was never hers to keep. It was only hers to remember, and now you have it.